The town of Westridge was known for its unremarkable tranquility, a place where nothing ever happened. Nestled in the shadow of mountains, it was the kind of town where everyone knew everyone. But all of that changed when Emily Winters disappeared. Emily was the town's golden girl. Bright, ambitious, and kind-hearted, she was set to leave for university in a few months. But one cold October night, she vanished without a trace. No struggle, no screams, just gone. Her car was found abandoned by the lake, the driver's side door left ajar. The only clue was a raven feather lying on the passenger seat, an odd and ominous detail that puzzled the police. As days passed without any sign of Emily, the town grew restless. The authorities launched a full-scale investigation, but every lead turned into a dead end. The only person who seemed unfazed was the town's reclusive author, Leonard Blake. Leonard lived alone in a sprawling, Gothic mansion at the edge of Westridge. His novels, filled with twisted mysteries and psychological horror, had earned him a loyal following. But the townspeople avoided him, whispering about his dark past and peculiar habits. The raven feather found in Emily's car only fueled suspicions about his involvement. Detective Sarah Mills was assigned to the case. A seasoned investigator from the city, she was known for her sharp instincts and relentless pursuit of the truth. Westridge was supposed to be a quiet respite from her usual work, but Emily's disappearance changed everything. As Sarah delved deeper into the mystery, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The town's calm exterior masked a sinister undercurrent, and Leonard Blake seemed to be at the center of it all. Sarah paid Leonard a visit at his mansion. The house itself was a relic of a bygone era, with ivy creeping up its stone walls and windows covered in thick, dusty drapes. Leonard greeted her with a cryptic smile, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling intensity. "I assume you're here about Emily," he said before Sarah could even introduce herself. His voice was smooth, almost hypnotic, but there was something about him that set Sarah on edge. She had dealt with many suspects over the years, but Leonard was different. He seemed to relish the discomfort he caused, as if he were playing a game only he understood. "I've heard the rumors," Leonard continued, "people think I had something to do with her disappearance. But I assure you, detective, I'm merely an observer in this story, not a participant." "An observer?" Sarah asked, her eyes narrowing. "What exactly do you mean by that?" Leonard leaned back in his chair, the leather creaking beneath him. "I watch. I listen. Westridge is a small town, detective. Secrets are hard to keep. But sometimes, the most dangerous secrets are the ones no one dares to speak." Sarah's instincts screamed at her to dig deeper, but Leonard was a master of evasion. He answered every question with vague, philosophical musings, offering nothing concrete. As she left the mansion, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that Leonard knew more than he was letting on. But without evidence, her hands were tied. That night, as she reviewed the case files, Sarah's phone rang. It was a blocked number. "Detective Mills," she answered cautiously. A voice, distorted and mechanical, whispered through the receiver, "The raven flies at midnight." Before Sarah could respond, the line went dead. The cryptic call left Sarah unnerved. She tried tracing the number, but it was untraceable, a dead end like so many other leads. But the message, "The raven flies at midnight," stuck with her. It felt like a warning, or perhaps a clue. The next morning, Sarah visited the lake where Emily's car had been found. The water was still, reflecting the overcast sky like a mirror. As she walked along the shore, something caught her eye, a figure standing in the distance, just beyond the tree-line. It was Leonard. "What are you doing here?" Sarah demanded as she approached him. "I could ask you the same," he replied calmly. "But I suppose we're both drawn to the same mystery. Do you enjoy being cryptic, Mr. Blake?" Sarah snapped. "Or is there a point to all this?" Leonard's smile faded. "You're not like the others, detective. You sense it, don't you? The darkness lurking beneath this town. Emily's disappearance is just the beginning. What do you know about Emily? Sarah pressed. And don't give me any more riddles. I need answers. Leonard hesitated, his expression shifting from amusement to something more serious. Emily was different. She knew things that people like you and I aren't supposed to know. She was looking for answers, but she got too close to something dangerous. And what exactly was she looking for? Sarah asked. Leonard glanced over his shoulder, as if expecting someone to be watching. There's a group in Westridge, an old society, hidden in plain sight. They call themselves the Ravens. They've been here for centuries, manipulating events from the shadows. Emily found out about them, and that's why she disappeared. Sarah's mind raced. A secret society operating in Westridge? It sounded absurd, but the more she thought about it, the more it explained the strange occurrences in town, the raven feather, the cryptic phone call, Leonard's evasiveness. If this society is so dangerous, why are you telling me this? Sarah asked. Because I'm tired of watching from the sidelines, Leonard replied. Emily was innocent. She didn't deserve what happened to her. But if you're going to find her, you need to be careful. The Ravens don't play by the rules. Before Sarah could ask anything else, Leonard turned and walked away, disappearing into the trees. With Leonard's warning in mind, Sarah began digging into the town's history. She discovered old records of a secret society known as the Ravens, a group that had existed in Westridge since the 1800s. Their influence extended to local politics, law enforcement, and even the town's economy. Over the years, they had managed to keep their activities hidden, but rumors of their existence persisted. Sarah knew she was on dangerous ground. The Ravens had eyes everywhere, and if Leonard was right, they wouldn't hesitate to eliminate anyone who threatened their secrecy. But she couldn't back down now. Emily's life, and possibly her own, depended on finding the truth. One night, while reviewing her notes at home, Sarah heard a soft knock at her door. She opened it cautiously, only to find a small package on her doorstep. Inside was a single raven feather and a note that read, "Meet me at the old church. Midnight." Sarah's heart raced. This was it. Someone from the Ravens was reaching out to her, but she had no idea if it was a trap. Armed with her gun and a flashlight, Sarah made her way to the old church at the edge of town. The building had been abandoned for years, its stained glass windows cracked and covered in grime. As she entered, the musty scent of decay filled her nostrils. "Detective Mills," a voice called from the shadows. Sarah spun around, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. A figure stepped forward, cloaked in black with a raven mask covering their face. "You're the one who left the package?" Sarah asked, her hand hovering over her gun. The masked figure nodded. "The Ravens are everywhere, Detective. But not all of us agree with what they've done. Emily was getting too close to the truth, so they silenced her. But there's still time to save her." "Where is she?" Sarah demanded. The figure hesitated before replying, "They're holding her at Ravenswood Manor. It's an old estate outside town, long abandoned, or so people think. That's where they conduct their rituals." Sarah's pulse quickened. "Why are you helping me?" The figure lowered their head. "Because I was once like Emily. I wanted to expose the truth, but I failed. Now, I want to make things right." Before Sarah could ask anything else, the figure disappeared into the shadows, leaving her alone in the dark church. Armed with this new information, Sarah wasted no time. She called for backup, but as she drove toward Ravenswood Manor, a sense of dread settled over her. If the Ravens were as powerful as Leonard and the masked figure claimed, there was no telling what they would do to protect their secrets. Ravenswood Manor loomed ahead, its Gothic architecture casting eerie shadows in the moonlight. The estate had been abandoned for decades, but as Sarah approached, she noticed faint lights flickering in the windows. She parked her car a safe distance away and approached on foot, her gun drawn. The front door creaked open as she stepped inside, the air thick with the smell of burning candles and incense. Suddenly, she heard voices, low, chanting voices, coming from a room at the end of the hallway. Sarah moved quietly, her heart pounding in her chest. She reached the door and peered inside. What she saw chilled her to the bone. A group of people, all wearing raven masks, stood in a circle around a large stone altar. Emily lay unconscious on the altar, her wrists bound with thick ropes. One of the masked figures held a ceremonial dagger, raising it high above Emily's chest. Without thinking, Sarah burst into the room. "Freeze! Drop the weapon." The room fell silent as all eyes turned toward her. The figure with the dagger hesitated for a moment before lowering the blade. But before Sarah could take another step, the leader of the group, the one holding the dagger, spoke. "You've come a long way, detective. But you're too late." With a swift motion, the leader slashed the dagger through the air, cutting the ropes that bound Emily. The young woman gasped for breath as the spell of unconsciousness was broken. "Get her out of here," Sarah ordered, her voice firm but tense. Another officer moved in to carry Emily to safety, while Sarah faced the leader, who still held the dagger with a cold smile. "You don't understand, detective," the leader said, his voice eerily calm. "We are the Ravens, and we are eternal. You cannot stop what we have started." But Sarah wasn't listening. She stepped forward, her gun trained on the leader's chest. "Try me." In the aftermath of the raid on Ravenswood Manor, Emily was rescued and returned to her family. The Ravens were exposed, and several members of the secret society were arrested, though many remained elusive. The leader, however, escaped, vanishing into the night without a trace. The town of Westridge slowly returned to normal, but the shadow of the Ravens still lingered. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was far from over. The society was ancient and powerful, and she knew they would not go quietly. One evening, as she sat in her office, reviewing the case files, her phone rang. It was a blocked number. "The Raven flies at midnight," the voice whispered. And then, silence.